Focus is working. Come on, focus on my hand. Focus on my hand. Ooh, drive. It's 2018. I'm driving, minding my own business, listening to pop radio, and this comes on.
And now I'm all up on you. What you expect? But you're not coming home with me tonight. You just want attention. You don't want my heart. Maybe you just hate the thought of me with someone new.
Pull the car over.
Yeah, you just want attention. You don't want my heart. Maybe you just hate the thought of me with someone new.
My name is Ian Martin Allison, and today we're going to answer the questions that I asked myself when I pulled my car over to the side of the road. Who is it? What is going on? And how fast can I get home and learn it? I mean, is this the greatest bassline ever? Musical genius Charlie Puth released the record Voice Notes in 2018, featuring the massive smash hit Attention. And before I break down this unbelievable bass line, let me first break your heart and tell you that this was not recorded with a real bass guitar. Wait, is this deja vu? You might be surprised to know that Ian Kirkpatrick, Dua Lipa's producer, played bass on it, but it's not a real bass at all. It's actually a plug-in that's a bass emulator. Charlie's productions typically start out on the voice memo app of his phone. And since he has perfect pitch and an unbelievably developed ear, he's singing these ideas first. I imagine that he even had an idea of what the bass should sound like before it was even out in the world. And there is a great YouTube video of him finding the sound and showing you how he played it on a keyboard. But look, just because this line wasn't made on the bass guitar doesn't mean it isn't valid, or it doesn't mean that as bass players, we shouldn't learn it. It's incredible. And something that you'll discover today as we dig into this bass line is the value in pop production around note length, tone, consistency, all of these things about pop production that sometimes, if we're honest, we miss as bass players. Before we dive into this bass line, a bit about gear. I am using my Seric Lincoln today, and I am running that into the Line 6 HX Stomp and a patch that I have built specifically to get this sound. I'm starting out with just a touch of chorus, then into an Ampeg B15 model, then into just a bit of room reverb because I want the sound to sit in its own sonic space. Then I'm following it all up with one of my favorite effects blocks in the Line 6 HX Stomp, Retro Reel, which is simulating a 2-inch tape machine complete with wow and flutter and saturation. It's tuned down half a step and then dropped to D. And I'm not going to talk about the notes today like, if I play a C, I'm not going to say C flat or B. Just know that the bass is dropped half a step and then the E string is dropped to D. It is so much fun. It's a blast to play, and it's trickier than it sounds. I'll tell you what, I'm using a pick. I don't know if the sample that Charlie is using is like a pick bass, but I find with this sound, I'm really digging into the texture of the top end of the bass guitar. When I play, I typically am kind of leaning into the bottom, but this song, especially in that first chorus, it's just kick drum, vocal, and bass. The bass is carrying all of like the rhythmic and harmonic content, and there has to be a sound. It has to be a texture, and it is such a cool sound. And so what I'm doing to emulate that is I'm playing with a pick, and then I'm really trying to get the top end of the note to come out, not only with the sound, but with my playing. And typically when I'm approaching something with a pick, I'm in palm mute zone. But this song is way more open sounding to me than that. So this is maybe more. Hear the notes. There can be a tiny bit of palm muting. But it's not super muted down like this. You hear this stuff. You hear the kind of the gronk and the grind of the bass in that descending figure. If you've never picked up the pick to play like a funky pop tune like this, I'm urging you to check it out. Let's slow it down. Let me show you exactly what's going on with this tune. Now again, I'm drop D, right? And it's starting out on this E. Right? So we're playing that E coming up, E, D, E. And that, I mean, you could play this, but that doesn't sound like the tune to me. I like the sound of the D and E up here. And then that breakdown there, the walk down rather, from the D to the B, all short notes. Instead of this, it's not that, right? So I'm lifting up between each of those notes to kind of simulate that like descending keyboard thing. And let me show you one other thing. The sound that I'm using on the HX Stomp, in my opinion, is so important to copying the vibe of this tune. Let me just turn it off and I'll show you. So here's the line without the sound from the stomp. I mean, it's cool, but it's not the same at all, right? Let's turn it back on. Let me show you again. There's something about the top note, the grit and texture of the top end of the notes that I think really give this line its personality. One other thing to note too is the mix position of this bass line. One of the reasons why it is so great, other than the fact that it's a really beautifully constructed line, is it stands alone. In the first chorus, the first time you hear it, it's by itself with a vocal and kick drum. And that's what made me pull over my car and pay attention to it. I mean, it's such a great line that sits so far forward in the mix, it feels like there's a big spotlight on it.
You just want attention, you don't want my heart. Maybe you just hit that part on me when someone new. Yeah, you just want attention, I knew from the start. You're just making sure I'll never get it over you.
And if you want a transcription of this line and a detailed breakdown of what I'm using for the effects to achieve this sound, look no further than the amazing PDF workbook that is linked in the description of this video. And of course, it's absolutely free. Hey, what other songs do you want to see broken down in the Greatest Basslines Ever episodes? Let me know in the comments. We read this stuff. We want to know what you want. And look, after you're done leaving a comment, I was talking to the subscribe button the other day and it was like, I feel like people almost want to click on me, but then they don't, they kind of hesitate. And I feel like I have so much to offer, you know, but I don't know why they're not clicking on me. So look, the subscribe button's feeling a little self-conscious, so make it stay. Click on it. I have been Ian Martin Allison for SBL. See you in the shed.